Okay, so one of my favorite things to do is to open up Spotify, not Apple Music, but Spotify in particular, because it has the monthly listeners on the app. Shows you how many people are really engaged with a particular artist from month to month. When new artists are coming out with a new record, their monthly listeners usually go up. So I always play this game with my friends. Who has more monthly listeners? And it's always shocking, because we're always wrong about these things, okay? So one of the things I like to start with is to start with some older bands. We're going to do old bands and current artists, okay? So who has more monthly followers, Queen or the Beatles? Most of my friends are like, oh, probably the Beatles do, probably a little bit more than Queen. Okay, well, the Beatles have 24.8 million, and their biggest song is Here Comes the Sun, George Harrison's song, with 686 million. Queen has 37.7 million monthly listeners. They have 1, 2, 3 songs. Another one, Bites the Dust, Bohemian Rhapsody, and Don't Stop Me Now, all have over 1 billion streams. But Bohemian Rhapsody, 1.5 billion streams. Well, you could say, well, that's probably from the movie that came out with that same title. That probably did something to it, but that's way more monthly listeners than the Beatles, right? Well, then take another band, old school band. What about Led Zeppelin? They must be pretty close to that, right? 15.7 million, so 10 million less than the Beatles and more than 20 million less than Queen. Their biggest song, Stairway to Heaven, only 590 million plays. Wow, that's shocking to me. What about the Rolling Stones? What do they have? It's got to be probably comparable to the Beatles, I would think. Probably not as many as Queen, right? 21 million listeners. Beatles had 24 million, so a little bit less. Biggest song, Paint It Black, 600 million plays, right? So nothing even close to 1 billion on that. What about Jimi Hendrix? I wonder what his cultural relevance is right now. 8.4 million monthly listeners. Why is that? Why so few in comparison to Zeppelin and obviously the Beatles and the Stones? Why Jimi Hendrix? Why would he have less than that? Maybe because you can't play his music anywhere, like on YouTube. Maybe that has something to do with it. Well, if that's the case, what about the Eagles? They had the biggest selling record of all time. Eagles' Greatest Hits are one of the biggest selling ones. They always held that record. 15.4 million monthly listeners. You'd think it'd be more than that. I mean, less than the Stones. What's their biggest song? Hotel California, 880 million plays. Pretty big, but the next biggest is Take It Easy at 322 million plays. That's a big discrepancy, 500 million plays between them. If you think about Queen, 1.5 billion plays of Bohemian Rhapsody, so not even close. That's basically twice as many as Hotel California. How about Van Halen? 10.4 million. Biggest song on here is Jump with 496 million plays. Now, this could be a function of the age of people that are on here, too. How many people have Spotify? Well, I'm 59. I've got Spotify, but I'm a music person. What about Pearl Jam versus Nirvana? So Pearl Jam has 10.6 million listeners, more than Jimi Hendrix. Nirvana has 19.5 million. So twice as many. And It Smells Like Teen Spirit has over 1 billion plays. That's pretty amazing. Okay, let's look at contemporary artists, because this is interesting. So Billie Eilish just released a song, right? I figure she's got to have one of the biggest followings here on Spotify. 55 million. It's a lot. Now, what's her biggest songs? Lovely. That song has got 1.5 billion spins. Bad Guy, 1.8 billion spins. That's a lot. Well, how does she compare to Dua Lipa, for example? Dua Lipa has 65 million, so 10 million more monthly listeners. But she only has one song that has over 1 billion plays, which is Don't Start Now, almost 1.6 billion plays. Okay, so less songs over 1 billion, but more monthly listeners. What about The Weeknd? 73 million monthly listeners, with Blinding Lights, 2.4 billion plays. But the next biggest one is Save Your Tears, is 700 million. I mean, the next biggest, that's not a lot, but that's not even close, right? What about Ed Sheeran? He's got to be pretty big probably, right? 70.3 million with, oh my gosh, this is amazing. Perfect, 1.8 billion spins. Shape of You, 2.8 billion spins. I think that's the most ever. Photograph, 1.6 billion. Thinking Out Loud, 1.8 billion. Wow. That's got to be the most played artist on here. What about Justin Bieber? He's got to be big, right? I wonder if is he bigger than Ed Sheeran? I don't know. It's hard to say. Let's see here. Justin Bieber, 78.8. So 5 million more monthly listeners, but no songs over 1 billion plays. Why would that be? That's weird, right? You'd think he's got to have multiple songs. So Ed has less monthly listeners, but they're way more engaged. Or they listen to these songs many, many more times than Justin Bieber. What about somebody like Beyonce? Beyonce must have a huge following, right? 31.9 million listeners. So basically half of Justin Bieber. Halo has 1 billion plays. The next biggest song of hers is Crazy in Love, 621 million plays, okay? Adele, she's got to be probably pretty close to that. 24.4 million monthly listeners, which is about what the Beatles have. Someone Like You, 1 billion plays. And the next one, Hello, has 1.1 billion plays. And Rolling in the Deep has 868 million plays. That's pretty, for 24 million. It's probably because she hasn't put out a record in a while that she only has 24 million monthly listeners. But she probably, if she was putting out a record now, that would increase because there'd be more interest. Oh, I need to follow Adele again. How about Taylor Swift? We haven't talked about Taylor. Now, you got to think Taylor Swift has got to be the biggest of all these, right? Close to 41 million. Basically, half of Justin Bieber. Shake It Off, 618 million plays. That's the most. So nothing over 1 billion for Taylor. Okay, let's see. What about Kanye West? Speaking of Taylor Swift, 37 million. Biggest song is Stronger, 865 million streams. Cardi B, 37 million. That's weird, right? They both have 37 million. WAP has 876 million. I Like It has 1.2 billion streams. So she has one song over 1 billion streams. You know who I thought of that has a lot of streams that I've seen? Post Malone. 48 million monthly listeners, so not even close to Justin Bieber, right? But Circles, 1.4 billion. Rockstar, 2.2 billion. Sunflower, 2 billion. Congratulations, 1.4 billion. Massive. You know what's interesting is that Queen has as many monthly followers and more streams than Cardi B, and pretty much as many as Taylor Swift. And Queen has way more. Their songs have far more plays than Taylor Swift. That's unbelievable to me. It really is. I mean, it kind of gives you an idea of the size of these bands. I mean, Queen is an incredibly relevant band. I know that because I ask my kids. I actually do this thing. I play these artists for my kids. I ask them if they know the songs. They know all those Queen songs. I mean, I think my wife plays them for them, or they hear them in the car driving around or something. But they know all the Queen songs. They don't know the Beatles songs, maybe a couple of the Beatles songs, but they definitely know Queen songs, probably more than Taylor Swift. I'd say definitely more than Taylor Swift. I'm not sure what any of this means, but I got to say I'm shocked by some of these numbers. And if I were some of these artists, like Jimi Hendrix, if I was his estate, I would be saying, please make some videos on Jimi Hendrix on YouTube. Let his music get played there. Or the Eagles. Because a lot of these artists are just becoming culturally irrelevant. They're just getting weeded out. If they're not on Spotify, they're not getting played places. They're not on YouTube, or they're not getting many plays on Spotify. 10 years from now, look at the difference between even Queen and the Beatles. Tells you something right there. If I forgot anyone, let me know in the comments below, and let me know if you were shocked as I was, by any of these numbers, because it was pretty eye-opening. That's all for now. Don't forget to subscribe, ring the bell, and leave a comment. Check out my new Quick Lessons Pro guitar course that just came out. Also, the Beato book, if you want to learn about music theory, that's how you do it. And check out my Beato ear training course at beatoeartraining.com. And don't forget, if you want to support the channel even more, think about becoming a member of the Beato Club. Thanks so much for watching.